Hello and welcome to Gardening Australia. This week, it's all about fruit. Jerry will be meeting some adorable babies and showing us how we can protect fruit bats and our fruit. Sophie's ready to give her young orchard a formative prune, and I'm visiting a couple in Perth in their productive jungle paradise. Today, I'm here at Paddy's Markets in central Sydney, surrounded by fresh fruit and veggies. Now, have a look at these little treats. They're one of my favourites. They may be small, but they're packed with goodness. I'm talking about the blueberry, of course. And first up tonight, we're heading down to Tassie to get some tips on how to grow them. Delicious.
Blueberries would have to be my favourite fruit of all time, and today I'm out at Mum and Dad's place to plant them a crop. Not only is their fruit absolutely divine, they're a very attractive shrub too. Now I'm evenly spacing them out on this raised bed here, so I can create an edible hedge. I've got high bush varieties. They get to about 1.5 metres to 2 metres tall, and I'm planting 3 different varieties: the Brigitte, the Blue Rose and the Denise. And they'll all crop at different times, meaning my harvest period will be extended. While blueberries are relatively easy plants to grow, a lot of people struggle with them. As always, the answer is in the soil. Blueberries require good drainage, so I've mounted up this bed so gravity can work for me. I'm going to dig the hole about twice the size of the pot. And because they come from the forests of North America, they like a humus-rich soil. So I'm going to add a bit of compost to the mix and just stir it through. Another soil requirement of blueberries is a low pH, around 4 to 5.5. Now this beautiful loam here is a neutral pH, so to lower it I'm going to use spent coffee grounds and pine needles. Now the good thing about pine needles is they mimic the plant's natural environment. You can use sulphur or sphagnum moss for this, but I like these materials because they're free. Now blueberries can be quite expensive, so I'm going to show you a way of propagating from one plant to make many plants. It's a technique called mound layering. Start off by cutting all the branches back to 2 or 3 buds from the ground, and then cover the whole plant with a mound of rich compost. Over the next few months, as new shoots break the surface, you'll need to keep adding to it. After about 6 to 9 months, you can scrape this mound back, and those shoots would have formed roots down their stem. You can cut them off and plant them in the ground, giving you a whole new crop. Now remember, if you treat your blueberries well, you'll get the best tasting berries in the universe.
Now, when most of us think of fruit, we tend to think of the staples: apples, oranges, bananas. But there's a whole world of native fruit out there that's equally delicious, easily grown, but often overlooked. Let's see what Angus has got in store for us.
I love my native plants, and I've become especially interested in ones with edible fruit. This is Dianella. It's one I've bred to flower and fruit constantly, and as well as having attractive deep green foliage, it also has these purple edible berries. Now, I'm up on a ridge where the soil is fairly shallow, but I've got a neighbour down in the valley, and she grows a lot of rainforest plants, and because they're on deeper soil, they tend to develop bigger, fleshier fruits. So I'm going to pay her a visit to see what grows in her microclimate and what's fruiting at the moment. Deirdre Jinks is a good friend of mine, and she has a garden and nursery tucked amongst 14 hectares here on the central coast of New South Wales. So what is it about native fruits that really excites you, Deirdre?
Look, the diversity. The diversity is just wonderful. And also the potential. There are huge numbers of Australian fruiting plants that have only just started to come into cultivation. So very new and a lot of potential there.
Here's one that is actually going at the moment. That's the native finger lime.
Yes, it's a beauty, isn't it? Look, there are other finger limes with red or yellow, but this is a really reliable one.
Yeah, and it's got this amazing sort of caviar-like pulp.
Yeah, look at these little bubbles, aren't they? Just delicious. They're really nice.
Yeah. So what else have you got to show me?
Oh, heaps of stuff. Come and have a look. Here's the sandpaper fig. Let's go up and look at the leaves.
Yes, because that's why they call it sandpaper fig, isn't it? Leaves have a really rough sort of texture.
I can hear that.
Just
real
like
sandpaper.
Yes, yeah. And the fruits are not only on the branches, are they?
No, once the tree matures, you also get fruit on the trunk.
Now, one thing we should say too, though, about all these bush tuckers is that people really need to research it a little bit first before they go putting anything in their mouth.
Yes, absolutely. This is red fruit from the walking stick palm, which is a gorgeous little palm here. Have a taste. This is the sort of thing you can snack on in the bush because it's really yummy. And there's a lot more fruit here, which is only just forming, and such a gorgeous little palm. Just beautiful.
Slow grower would be great for a courtyard.
Yes, you can leave them in a courtyard pot for years and years and they just don't overwhelm the place.
Yeah,
just beauties, I love them. And look at this syzygium here. But now the fruit's gone, we've got this gorgeous new flush of pink. And of course, all the lily pillies do a flush. It's just a question of whether it's pink or red or orange or copper. Have a taste, Angus.
Yeah, yeah.
Great garnish for salad, isn't it?
Indeed, indeed. So that's the ryeberry or syzygium libanium.
Yes, yes. Here's the Davis's plum, Angus. You can see where the fruit grow straight off the trunk all the way up.
Davidson's plum.
Yes,
It just
taste.
looks like
have
a plum.
Taste. It's quite startling, isn't it? No.
I don't think there's any point sugar-coating this, or
look,
is there?
Look. Once you add sugar, they make the most fantastic jam. They really do. Just delicious, just delicious.
Fantastic. Over the years, Deirdre and I have experimented with propagating all kinds of native plants, like this Davidson's plum.
I'm just separating out and putting the seeds separately and then putting the flesh over here. And this is what I'll make jam out of.
The process of putting the seeds in water too is to actually ferment and get rid of the extra flesh, but it also simulates what happens when they get eaten by a bird or some other animal.
Yes.
So over here we've got some that have been fermenting for quite a while, and that process of going through the gut of an animal, exposing it to all the acids in the stomach, actually helps to break dormancy of those plants, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It gets them ready to germinate so that if you've fermented them, then they'll germinate very quickly for you.
Right, so we've got some seed here.
And they'll be up in less than a month.
It's great to see someone as enthusiastic as Deirdre is about growing and using native fruit.
It's something that I've done for a long time, I feel passionate about, because native fruits that we have are just wonderful.
Now, you may remember a couple of weeks ago, I finally got my chance to go and visit Josh in WA. Well, while I was there, I dropped in on a couple whose productive garden is the fruits of their labour. This is my kind of heaven. Look at this delicate little leaf. It's Japanese red spinach. Bit like mustard, quite peppery, grows really quickly, perfect for your salads. I'm in an edible paradise that's all about good food and good health. It's lush and productive, but it wasn't always so. That was back in 2007, and it's what Todd Smith and Tash Levy were confronted with when they bought this house in Hammersley, a northern suburb of Perth. But were they deterred? No way. Todd's a professional horticulturalist, and both he and Tash are passionate gardeners. They're my kind of people.
There was a little bit of garden, but it was mostly all couch grass and sand. Bricky sand was terrible. So that was a bit of a challenge, getting rid of all that. And then the next thing we did was build the raised beds. We really just wanted to feed ourselves and start having healthy food. So really just getting the good soil in, starting some planting, getting some seeds germinating. Well, I think it was actually high summer when we got in, so it was a real challenge in WA summer. So with no cover, it was really quite hard.
Well, we've put in a range of different solutions, Costa. We're using the wicking beds, which are a great idea for water conservation with the sort of more intensive growing. But mainly you have to have some canopy, you have to reduce your exposure to the sun, you've got to cut the wind down, and so we've stacked the canopy all the way up through different layers so that we can make the maximum amount of use of the sunshine at the same time providing us with the maximum amount of cover. The big tree at the back is a bit of borrowed landscape. That's a Ficus rubiginosa, a Port Jackson fig, which is actually next door, but it serves as a fantastic radiant heat supply for some of the subtropicals underneath.
It is quite a microclimate. It's quite humid in here.
It's starting to hold the moisture closer to the ground, which is what we want. So we've tried to create not only this canopy, but also divide the garden up into a series of little green rooms. Okay, so the wind is modified and it's nice and moist and cool near the ground.
The pond has a number of uses, obviously for water storage. It's also a frog habitat, and frogs eat slaters. But in Perth's summer, when land plants suffer, the pond is home for several vigorous greens, such as pennywort, lizard tail, aquatic milfoil and taro. As well as rabbits and chooks, Todd and Tash have what they laughingly call a jungle. I mean, have a look around this place. There's mulberries, guavas, figs, avocados, tamarillos and bamboo.
Yeah, this one's a more likely candidate, something about this size. We could just put a layer of mulch over that and cover it and it'll go nice and white. And when it's about, say, half the size of this one, we just cut that with a nice sharp knife, take it into the kitchen, scrub it up, chop it up and it can go into your stir fry. So it's fantastic. You know, you've got the canopy, you've got the mulch, you've got the trellis, and you can eat it.
When it comes to maintenance, Todd and Tash really make the most of what they grow. Food, of course, but several times a year, their highly productive plants are chopped down and given back to the soil.
The soil is the key. We have to feed the microbes and the biology in the soil and return some of the plant material for ongoing nutrient cycling in the system. This is what gives us the equity and the soil building characteristics that make the garden healthy and that ensure that it's going to be an ongoing, viable system.
So what's the future hold for this food jungle? It's alive, diverse, and it can only get better. When you start to learn about plants, you start to learn about their beneficial associations, how the canopy affects the understory and how that affects the layering and petitioning under the ground. It's a journey that once you start it, you can't turn back. As Todd and Tash say, their garden nourishes them. It's their health insurance. How good was Tash and Todd's garden? Now, I'm really enjoying seeing Sophie's garden in the Adelaide Hills taking shape over time. She's doing a bit of pruning in the orchard, so let's go join her.
My orchard is coming along and it's 2 years old now, so it's time for a formative prune. And I'm getting a hand from an expert, Harry Harrison. When I started, Harry helped me select the 110 trees I've put in here.
Wow, there's a lot of trees here, Sophie, aren't there?
There certainly are, Harry, but with a tribe of 5 kids and all our friends to feed, I'm sure we can use the fruit. By planting several varieties of each of a broad range of fruits and nuts, I'm hoping to have something ripe and ready to pick for as much of the year as possible. Now, I know these trees are only young, but I figure it's time they need a formative prune.
Well, it's never too early to start. You really should start from day one, getting the structure right. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is actually not pruning. So that's the biggest mistake in pruning, is not doing it. Okay. So you start with getting the shape right. We've got 2 basic shapes with fruit trees. We've got a vase shape, which is what your stone fruit or drupes have, and a pyramid shape, which is what your pomes, which are apples and pears and quinces and things have.
So how are we going to prune this apricot, Harry?
Well, it's already got some shape of a vase, so we want 3 to 5 branches coming out low down, and they are going to be our framework. And from there, as a young tree, we just keep that framework, and we only really need to take out a few of these branches that are crossing over in the centre. So we've just got this last one here to take out. And so we've got our 4 main branches coming up, which gives us our structure, our shape, and that's all we need to do.
I don't hear you talking about laterals and leaders like other pruning experts.
Right, well, I think those terms lead to confusion, and after all, they're just branches.
Well, we're here at the pomes, which is, of course, the apples and pears. What's the key difference with pruning this apple tree, for example?
Well, the key difference is it is trying to form a pyramid shape, and they do have what sometimes gets called a central leader, but it's really, as I said, a branch. And ideally, we're trying to just get the tree to form that pyramid shape, so we don't open it out quite as much as we would with one of the stone fruit and set with a vase. Basically, with this, we want to take out a few of these branches that are crossing over, and then to limit the height of this tree, we can bend this over when it's reached the height that you want it at. That will allow sunlight to all the areas of either the branch or this central trunk, and flowers will form and we'll get fruit.
So how do you bend it over?
The branches are quite flexible, so we just need a piece of string and a brick down the bottom and hold it down.
OK, but we don't do that yet?
We don't do that until we need to limit the height of the tree. That might be this spring.
Now, how do we clean up the structure here?
We need to open it up. There's only a few branches here we really need to open up with this one. It's fairly simple. We prune when they're in leaf. That will discourage excessive growth. If we prune when they're bare-leafed, we're generally encouraging growth. And maybe this lower one down here, and we're done.
So essentially what we're doing is creating a nice strong structure that will support the tree to carry lots of fruit.
That's right, and we're also opening it up at the same time so we get plenty of airflow through, because that will help prevent disease, particularly fungal infections.
By pruning, you can actually control the height, so we shouldn't need to use ladders, should we?
No, that's it. That's the whole part of the idea, is to keep the size down.
Do you like my tree guards, Harry?
Yeah, they're great.
They're designed so that the hairs don't do any damage. We had quite a few hairs nibbling on the bark. And also my boys that helped me with whippersnippering, they accidentally ring-barked a couple of trees, so I was a bit devastated. Just to recap, prune stone fruit to a vase shape. I think of it as an upside-down umbrella with 3 to 5 main branches, and prune apple and pear family to a pyramid, leaving the central branch in place. And what about feeding, Harry?
Feeding ideally you do during the growth phase, growing through spring and summer. And personally, I think it's best to drip feed them or slowly feed them every month a little bit rather than a lot all at once. It's rather like having a great big meal once a week versus, 3 meals a day. And they really want the 3 meals a day type of feeding.
Thanks, Harry. Now, are you going to come back and help me with some summer maintenance pruning?
Well, I reckon, as long as there's plenty of produce.
Well, now I know we've got the formative pruning right, I reckon it's going to be a bumper harvest. Want to come, darling? Come on, girl.
When you've put all that effort into growing your own fruit, having it taken by bats can be a little bit frustrating. But here's Jerry with a few tips on how you can protect your fruit without harming the bats. How much are these ones?
Flying foxes or fruit bats are one of our most unique mammals, yet every year thousands are injured or killed in suburban backyards. They come in search of fruit but end up tangled in netting as gardeners seek to protect crops. So today, I've come to visit bat conservationist Denise Wade. Denise has promised to show me how we can have our fruit and eat it too, while still protecting this important native species. So how many bats do you have?
We have about 20 at the moment, Jerry.
Denise cares for injured flying foxes at her house in South Brisbane.
So this is a grey-headed flying fox.
Now, this is a nationally protected species,
They're
isn't it?
federally listed as vulnerable to extinction now.
And what sort of injuries do bats suffer?
They can have all sorts of injuries. Sometimes they're non-fatally electrocuted, so they're badly burnt.
On power lines?
Power lines. They can have broken limbs, broken fingers, broken bones, smashed pallets from barbed wire entrapment. Netting causes some horrific injuries that sometimes don't appear for quite a few days. Any netting that you can put your fingers through is classed as extremely dangerous to wildlife.
What sort of food would entice them into a garden?
Any sort of fruiting tree, palm trees, coppice palms. They're predominantly nectar and pollen feeders in the wild.
They also have a habit for eating fruit that are not necessarily good for them. You mentioned
Yes, they do.
the Siagrus palm or cocos palm.
Yes, yes.
That is one which is really bad for them.
Extremely bad. It can kill a flying fox in about 8 different ways.
People are scared about handling bats, but are we right to be so scared of bats?
Not to be scared of bats, but you must not handle bats unless you're vaccinated. Apart from that, there's nothing to fear from them.
Denise looks after severely injured bats inside the house. Orphan baby bats also need special care.
This is an orphaned black flying fox, so she's about 10 weeks old. She's lost a mother, so we have to hand rear her. And that's a wing.
It's so thin and fragile.
It's beautiful, isn't it? So it's actually the same anatomy as our hand. There's a thumb and 4 fingers, so you can imagine what happens in netting and barbed wire with that beautiful fine membrane.
And if they can't fly, that's basically the end of them
That's
in
right.
the wild.
Death by starvation, absolutely.
If you want to protect flying foxes and your fruit trees, it's all about choosing the correct netting. You see this mesh absolutely everywhere.
This is extremely dangerous, this netting. A lot of the reason for that is the large aperture of the netting.
Yeah.
So flying foxes get their wings and their legs and their faces even caught in this stuff, and it's horrible.
So what are the solutions?
Well, we find this product to be extremely safe for all wildlife, and it's cheap and it's user-friendly. It's about the rigidity of the weave and also the aperture size of the weave, so it's just very safe. Nobody will get caught in that.
This little thing you've got tucked in here, this would be familiar to a lot of gardeners. So if you've got, say, something like tomatoes or individual fruit on pawpaws,
Yes.
you can use these little bags and tie them around the fruit, and that will exclude birds and bats as well.
Yes.
There's no great art to netting a fruit tree like Denise's pawpaw. Just throw it over the top, but it is important to tie the netting in around the trunk of the tree.
Tied like a bonbon around the trunk. They can't get up underneath the mesh to get in.
Now, a lot of people will find that they do have problems with bats in their gardens. What do they do if they find a distressed bat?
The most important thing to remember is not to touch it, but to call your state wildlife rescue organisation, and they'll send somebody out to humanely and safely rescue that animal.
Now, I reckon flying foxes are flying gardeners. What do you reckon?
I couldn't agree more. They're Australia's most important native animal, and all 4 species are in rapid decline and they're in big trouble, so we need to look after them. And we always like to say no bats, no trees, no koalas. So we want our lovely biodiversity and our wonderful forests and our hardwood forests and our World Heritage areas, and we need our bats.
They really are fantastic little creatures. If you want to learn more about bat rescue and how to protect your fruit, then jump on the website. That's it for this episode. But I hope you can join us next week when we have our 3rd special for the year, which looks at how the isolation of Australia's islands has led to unique cultures. Next week, Clarence and I are on the Tiwi Islands, dropping in on an arts and crafts centre where plants are key to the artistic endeavours. We'll also be visiting a farm that is helping the Tiwi Islanders become more self-sufficient in fresh produce.
I don't know about you, Rosabelle, but I find it very relaxing when you're doing things like this, yeah?
Yes, with the wind blowing.
Yeah. Nice and cool under the big mango tree.
Yes.
And Tino will be visiting a garden of a very different kind, off the shores of Tasmania. I hope to see you for next week's special. In the meantime, get out there and enjoy the huge variety of fruit we've got right here in Australia. See ya. Hi, Costa here. If you've missed an episode of Gardening Australia, catch up on ABC iView or go to the Gardening Australia website. It's too easy.